Can you learn to defend yourself without defending yourself? That is the question. To simply be. You see how the English language is a trap? Can you defend yourself without defending yourself? See, when you get defensive, that usually leaves you vulnerable to attack. So the flex, how not to be defensive. Say, how many times have you felt unloved? Oh, you poor baby. Owie. Know that you are always loved. Of course, you are lovable. Your true self was created perfectly. But there are moments at ground level where disrespect happens. And we are on earth learning about love, the many facets of love, and one of the facets of love is respect. Now, there is something called metacognition, which is thinking about how you think. I'm making these noises to help you get out of your normal trap, because most people have something called an anchoring bias, some programming that you picked up from childhood in your system, your operating system of your default mind. Until you are aware of how your default mind works, and you can rise above it and reprogram it yourself at will, you're locked in your own matrix, and you probably don't even know it, and you probably have something called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which most non-neurodivergent people have. Dunning-Kruger effect is when you imagine you know more about something than you do because of that anchoring bias. You don't do the full research. You do a lot of assuming. Most people are prone to this. But neurodivergence will go down rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole, verifying, learning more, always learning more, that exploration kind of mind. It's more synonymous with humility. And people with the Dunning-Kruger effect also tend to underestimate their own abilities. And what leads to that unloved feeling, or someone even telling you you are unlovable. It's because they felt so unloved by your probably defensive behavior, because you got triggered and because you felt disrespected when they weren't disrespecting you at all, is the thing. So it's another flex. You got to learn the difference between a true disrespect. Is that person actually disrespecting me, or am I triggered from my mother disrespecting me in childhood? For example, a friend who actually, a friend I hadn't been in touch with for a couple of years, he jumped off a building, I heard, in the summer, rest in peace. He had these mother issues that we've been talking about. He felt very unloved. An example of this type of transference, the mother, when he was younger, they were at some pool, and he was in the men's locker room changing, and he hadn't heard her when she said, "Meet me there at this time." So she goes in angry, fuming, in the men's locker room, and hits him and basically kicks his ass in front of a bunch of grown men, traumatizes him. The controlling mother right there. And so fast forward in the future, he's in his 30s, and he has an ex-girlfriend coming into the yoga studio where he works who wants to talk with him, and he gets triggered because a woman coming after him. He goes into the bathroom. She follows him into the bathroom. He gets so friggin' triggered, he calls the police on her. What did she really do, though? She just wanted to talk to him. She wasn't there to smack him. But in his nervous system, woman, locker room for men, I'm gonna get smacked. That's an example of a trigger. And then the reaction is overblown. And so this happens way too much because people aren't good at communicating. They're good at assuming a lot. But hopefully that is going to change as we create ripple wave effects. And as Generation Z, which is like ultra real, and so many neurodivergents out there, and so many starseeds and light workers here shining the light to see beyond the expression on the face, because the expression on the face usually does not reveal what's going on the other side when there's so much happening in the ADD world, neurodivergent world. People just need to learn that it's safe to talk. And the only way people are going to learn that it's safe to talk is when people get less defensive, or when people learn not to defend themselves, and that is the defense. You see how hard it is to say that and verbalize that in the English language? You have to feel safe within yourself. Retrieve all yourself from any traumatic moment in the past. Get yourself out of there. Delete the trauma from your body. As long as you have yourself, you can delete the event. You're never going back there anyway, but you need to collect yourself. You need to tend to yourself. You need to heal yourself. You need to recuperate your inner children. And know that you are safe. And know if there's abuse, you must get out of there. Protect yourself, because it's not just you. You have an inner child as well. And you have your inner opposite sex, inner masculine or feminine, your anima or animus. So it's like you have an internal family within you to consider. You're never alone. You're always loved, no matter what it seems like. On ground level, sometimes we put ourselves in situations where, if you're honest with yourself, you don't really love the other person anywhere. You don't love something they did. It came out in a way where they felt so disrespected that they would feel they would have no self-respect, or they feel like they would have no self-respect if they were to give you any energy after that. And that's karma. That's one aspect of karma. Karma isn't always doing something wrong. Karma is sometimes just having that attractor receiver button to receive abuse all the time. And so when you're getting this like nonsensical abuse, it's a matter of like, you get bored of it, you stop responding, you deactivate that receiver button. As long as you're still interested in going through a cyclical loop of the same pattern, well, don't watch my channel, because when you watch my channel, things change. You start to think in the metacognition realm, where you're thinking about how you think. Or you have these moments where your mind cuts off and something, you just feel a pressure in the forehead maybe, an emotion opening in your heart. Because on my channel here, I seek to activate your mind-heart coherence. And share with you my work, how I do what works. It's basically the backbone of the matrix system. Like, once you know how it works, you're outside of the matrix. You're creating it as you go. Say, at the basis of everything, men are blaming women and women are blaming men, and this has to stop. You know I am a liar and diplomat, whether you believe me or not. Diplomat, personality archetype, you can call it INTP, I think. Diplomat. I don't blame. It's a very logical mind. I don't work at the levels of blame. It's both. It's both. Women are never going to feel safe unless they're emotionally safe with you, to be able to share their feelings without you getting triggered and you taking it personally. And women need to learn how to share their feelings without being abusive and without blaming, and making it more just the purity of their feelings. But men need to get rid of the shadow shame that they can't see, because that's what makes them trigger and blow up. And then it all falls back on the mother. So if the women aren't healed, how can they heal the next generation of men or raise them strong? And if women aren't healed, women need men to protect and support them.